Dr. Gianni Tognoni, Secretary General of the Rome-based Permanent People's Tribunal. Thanks for joining us today.
It's an honor for me to be in touch with you at the interview.
Thank you. So let's start with the efforts have been started for the ECHR about the life sentence regarding leader Öcalan, Kurdish leader Öcalan, back on its agenda. How do you comment on that?
But, it's always very difficult to comment something else when something has to do with Ocalan, because the case of Ocalan is so much intertwined between juridical aspects and political background that nobody really knows what could happen. My point would be that in order to have real significance, I wonder whether it would be so important to declare that the case of Ocalan back in the scene should be taken really by a group of international lawyers in Europe in order to make that case a test case for the capacity of the court to be truly independent and transparent in the process which has to do with Ocalan, in order that the public opinion should be fully informed of what is the content and what are the difficulties. Otherwise, it appears that everything is under a cover which has to do with unknown reasons. And the Ocalan case, from my point of view, should come out from the fact of being a model case of, say, segregation, nobody knows what happens, separation, and to become really a public case on which all the lawyers could discuss as a public affair, because it's a test of a general rule.
What should be the legal sanctions of Turkey's failure to implement the decisions taken by the CPT and ECHR, despite being a member of Council of Europe and signing the International Human Rights Convention? Why do you think Turkey did not implement this decision?
But Turkey is a political problem for Europe, and everything which happens between Europe and Turkey is in fact something which is against the normal expectation of the respect of international law, and is really a problem of credibility because all what is done between Turkey and Europe is outside the what should be the expectation from the respect of convention and law, and that is one of the case of great and very bad example of non-independence of law from the political positions, and it should be important to make really a full case of the violation of the duties of Europe with respect to the respect of Turkey. And Turkey, not for nothing, is not part of the European system, except that for the NATO affair and most of the time for controversial reasons.
Although isolation is an international crime, it continues in İmralı Island, where the Kurdish leader, Mr. Abdullah Ocalan, is kept under isolation. How do they evaluate the isolation imposed on leader Öcalan? How would you like to comment on that isolation process?
But it is clear that isolation, it has been said many times in different situations, is a formal crime, and because it's in fact a torture which is prolonged, which has been denounced, documented, every time it has been confirmed that is no more an open problem, is a political decision, full stop. And rights have been excluded from the consideration. I think that we have the same situation, and that is important from the point of view of the understanding on what happens in Europe, we have the same situation even if UK is no more or less Europe, but from the international law is the same. The same case for Assange. All the basic rules of law are violated with full impunity. Political prisoners are a documentation of the irrelevance of international law with respect to the normal behavior of an independent legislation and legislation. That is a scandal, I think, but it is important to discuss that as a scandal, not as a juridical problem, a really political scandal which threatens the credibility of all the role of international law in political affairs.
Mr. Ocalan has been kept in isolation for 22 years, as you mentioned. It's quite long time as well, despite his advanced age as well. So, how do you evaluate this situation? He is also a political prisoner on the other hand, isn't he?
Yes, as I said, the case of Ocalan is so clear from the point of view of illegality and for violation of everything that there is nothing else to be added in violation. What I repeat, I am wondering is why there is not a real international pressure, permanent pressure of international lawyers, and which really regularly recall the intolerability of the case of Ocalan for a civil society and for Europe. That is not the case. Ocalan remains also in the opposition as a more political case linked to political situation, the communist stories and everything. And I think that is the bad situation that the lawyers considers violation, lawyers or say international lawyers, the violation of law, something which could be supported because it's an expression of dictatorship, but that is a very systematic issue which is not dealt with the due seriousness and the due implication for the credibility of law.
Dr. Gianni Tognoni, Secretary General of the Rome-based Permanent Pupils Tribunal. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your valuable comments today.
Okay, thanks a lot. Sorry for the various problems. I hope what I said is not too repetitive, is certainly coherent with what is happening in Turkey. Thanks for
Thank you.